Welcome back to Baking with Love. I'm Carolyn Stella, aka Stella, coming to you from the new, improved PEG TV Kitchen Studio. We've updated some of our technology and it should make your viewing experience even better. You can let us know on the PEG TV website where you'll find the recipe for this show. So this month, in a couple weeks, we'll be gathering together with family and friends for a Thanksgiving feast. And there's a lot of traditional recipes for desserts. Pumpkin pie, apple pie, pecan pie. So I'd like to offer you an alternative with today's recipe, Maple Pecan Pie Squares. So it's a bar cookie, it's easy to make, you can make it ahead, and everybody loves them. So if you want to substitute a traditional pie for this recipe, you'll be all set. Did you know that the U.S. is the #1 producer of pecans in the world? About 80% of the world's pecans are grown right here in the USA. We're #1. There's about 14 states that grow pecans. Vermont is not one of them, but can you guess who's #1? A lot of people guess right. Georgia. Georgia produces about 1/3 of all the pecans grown in the U.S. That's about over 125 million pounds, and they are followed by New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, and Oklahoma. Albany, Georgia, calls itself the pecan capital of the world, and they boast over 600,000 pecan trees. I'll talk a little bit more about pecan trees as we bake, but let's get to our recipe. Like I said, it's super easy. So we're gonna start with, before you got here, I prepared our pan, a 9 by 13 inch pan with a little parchment overhanging the short sides and a little nonstick cooking spray. Preheated our oven to 375, so that's a little different. We usually start with 350. 375 today. And I chopped and toasted 2 cups of our nuts. I had pecan halves, so I chopped them a little smaller. You can already buy them chopped at your in your baking aisle at your local grocery store. And we've talked about toasting nuts on this show before. You know that it enhances the nutty flavor. It's another step that you can skip if you'd like, but I recommend it. All right, so now for our crust. Super easy, as I said. It's essentially a brown sugar shortbread. So we've got 2 sticks or 1 cup of butter, softened, and 1 cup of firmly packed dark brown sugar. And you can use light brown if you'd like. We talked about that before too. It's a little bit more molasses for the dark brown color. So we'll give this a whirl, get it nice and creamed together. And then we're gonna add 2 cups plus 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. And that's it. Oh, and you know what? We'll sprinkle in a little love in our crust. We're gonna add that to the filling as well. But you can never have too much love, especially on this show. And it is Thanksgiving, so there's a lot to be thankful for. All right, our flour, as I mentioned, 2 cups plus 2 tablespoons, and you want it to be incorporated. The dough will be crumbly, but stick together when it's pressed, and that's what you want for this crust. So I mentioned the pecan trees. There's over 1,000 different kinds. They can live over 200 years, and they only produce nuts every other year, but researchers are trying to create a variety that has nuts annually. Let's see. 1 tree can have between 25 and 45 pounds of nuts per harvest, and this is the harvest time of year. Between October and December is when the pecan crop comes in those states that we mentioned. All right, so this looks good. All the flour is in. The crumbs are coming together, and we're going to transfer that to our prepared pan. You want to, there's a little on the bottom, I'll give that a stir. You want to make sure it's an even layer and that, again, the corners are pressed in. What else can I tell you? Oh, pecans. So a lot of the varieties, I said there's over 1,000 varieties. A lot of the varieties are named after Native American tribes like Cheyenne and Sioux and Choctaw. And the Native Americans have been cultivating pecans for hundreds of years. They are the only nut native to North America. So they are really our thing, USA. Also, the word P-E-C-A-N is supposedly of Algonquin origin, so another Native American tribe, and it means the nut that you need to use a stone to crack. So they're a hard nut to crack. All right, so we've got our crust. Really, 3 simple ingredients plus love, of course. And that's in our pan. I'm going to prick it with a fork like I did with our salted caramel shortbread squares because essentially, as I mentioned, it's a shortbread crust. I had a little tape holding this down. I don't want tape in our oven. Well, that one didn't need it. All right, so into the 375-degree oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. You'll know it's done. Well, it's not done. It's just going to be partially baked, but you'll take it out when it puffs up a little bit and the edges are kind of set and a little golden. But while that's baking, before we get to our filling, we have a little time. So let's talk about this word I just spelled, P-E-C-A-N. We had our states. Now let's look at the map, kind of like the map we had for caramel, right? Only this one has even more pronunciation. So how do you say it? If you're from Vermont or these northern New England states and a little bit along the eastern seaboard, the pronunciation is pecan, okay? But as you can see by this kind of rosy shaded area, the majority of the country pronounces it pecan. So if we have some transplants around, you might hear somebody say pecan. And then we have these other shaded areas, little outliers, in Texas and Louisiana, some of the places that they're grown, they have a little pronunciation, pecan. And then up in the Upper Peninsula, they have a few people that say pecan. So I don't know how you say it. I have on my shirt it says, how do you say it, A, B, C, D. And I've said it so many different ways getting ready for this show, I put E, all the above. So there's a little bit of the pronunciation of the word. All right, so now we can get to our filling, move our map, and we'll get rid of this mixer. I'm going to use a really old-fashioned hand mixer for our filling. Our crust is baking. So again, we are just going to use a few simple ingredients. 2 large eggs. I have them at room temperature. 2 tablespoons of Vermont maple syrup. So this is a little special thing that is in this recipe. A lot of people will use molasses, but we'll be using the brown sugar. So we'll get our molasses from that. 3/4 of a cup of light corn syrup. If you make pecan pie, you know that that's not that much. A lot of recipes have a lot more, but we're going to cut it down a little bit and use that little pinch of maple syrup. 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, which I've got in our Love measuring spoon. A heaping cup of love, and this is 3/4 of a cup. I have it in a measuring cup, but it's 3/4 of a cup of dark brown sugar. Actually, before I add that, I'm just going to give this a little whirl. And again, it's firmly packed, and you're welcome to use light brown if you prefer a little less robust taste, or if that's all you have, just use what you have. That's what I always do. But this is dark brown sugar, so that's our filling. And then to this, we're going to add our chopped, toasted pecans. Is that how you say it? That's how you say it around here. All right, so this is nice and easy. You can do it with your stand mixer. You can do it with your electric mixer. You could do it with this if you have one. It's an oldie but a goodie. All right, so I'll just set this here, add our nuts, and we'll give it another stir. So this is 2 cups. And they're generous cups because who doesn't like it nutty? And then we're going to just give that another little whirl. Good till the last drop. Don't want to drip. Make sure all the nuts are coated and incorporated. Oh, actually, I don't even have to use this. I can just use my mixer. Give it a whirl that way. I don't want to waste any of the nuts. Just turn this around, get them all mixed up, and then we will pour them over our partially baked crust. So you're going to have to go into the Peg TV time machine. We do that a lot around here. Use your imagination. And 15 or 20 minutes has gone by. They're all coated, nicely coated. And we're going to pour that over our partially baked crust. So use your imagination. And here we have, oh, remember it's hot. Wink, wink. All right. So we're going to pour our filling mixture over our partially baked crust and spread it all out evenly. It'll be a thin layer, but you want to make sure it covers everything, and like I said, gets into those corners. You can smell the maple. Such a great addition to this recipe, and an autumn flavor. Some people even use it for their turkey. And again, this is nice because you can make it ahead. So if you're entertaining, it's one less thing for you to do. Or if you're traveling, it'll be all set. You can have it a day or even 2 days before ready to go. And you don't have to cut it till you get to your destination. It'll travel really well. It's nice and solid. Oh, I thought of another fun fact. You know, we always like world records on this show. The largest pecan is actually a sculpture. It's in a town called Seguin, Texas, since 2011. There you go. We're gonna give it a little jiggle. And it is in front of the City Hall. It's 16 feet long by 8 feet wide and weighs about 1,000 pounds. And that is the world's largest pecan. Seguin, Texas calls themselves the pecan capital of Texas. All right, so we're gonna pop this in our 375-degree oven for 20 to 25 minutes. And that will be until the edges are set, but the center is still got a little jiggle. So kind of like brownies. Some people like the more crispy edges and some people like the more gooey centers. With these Maple Pecan Pie Squares, you're gonna have a little bit of both. So you'll have something for everyone that enjoys this treat. All right, so we're going to go back into our Peg TV time machine, and we're going to go 20 to 25 minutes into the future. And so you really have to use your imagination now. And we're going to take out our baked pecan pie squares, and we're going to let them cool as long as it takes to get them to room temperature. But one other ingredient that you might choose to use is a little coarse sea salt. When you take them out, you can give them a sprinkle, and it really does enhance the flavor of the nuts. If you're making it for the first time and you're not so sure whether or not you'd like to use the salt, just do half and then have people taste for you and see if they notice, and if they do, if they like it. But after it cools on the rack, it's a good idea to also let it cool in the fridge. And that's, as I mentioned, you can do that overnight. So now let's go to our, again, the next day, Peg TV time machine. And we'll get out our finished squares with the sea salt. I don't know if you can see those little coarse pieces. And we'll get ready to serve them up at our Thanksgiving feast. So first, take a little knife and just run it along the long edges because the short sides already have the parchment. And sometimes it does take a little bit for it to release. Okay, then we've got our slab. I'm going to do the old hopefully the old tablecloth trick and pull out the parchment from underneath. Ooh, these are cold, so hopefully they won't be too firm for me. I think I have a piece of parchment somewhere there. I don't want anybody to bite into it and have to chew a piece of paper. Paper is digestible, by the way, but we still don't want that. And now I have 2 sharp knives. Let's see, now, Thanksgiving, you probably already have had a lot of food. There's probably a big assortment of desserts. So you might want to cut these pretty small. And we'll see if what I can cut. And you can see as I cut, the edges are going to be a little crisper, as I mentioned, and the center's going to get a little gooey. And you do have to press. Yeah, there's some of the goo. So what else can I tell you about pecans? Oh, pecan wood is a hard wood. It's related to hickory, and it's good for baseball bats and hammer handles and flooring. I actually have hickory floors in my house, not pecan. But a little fun fact, in 1996, the Olympic Summer Games were in Atlanta, Georgia. So they used Georgia pecan wood for the handles of the torches. The torches traveled from Greece and all the way into the Olympic Stadium in Georgia, in Atlanta. And my dad and his good friend, Johnny Flood, were at those Olympic Games. So that was Georgia pecan wood. All right, I think I might use the other knife to go this way. This one's a little sticky, but there's our squares. And again, you have the kind of brown sugar shortbread crust, the nice gooey middle, just like a regular pecan pie, and the nice crispy, crunchy, toasted pecan topping. And you can bite through all 3 layers. The other nice thing about this dessert is that no forks required. So if all your utensils are already in the kitchen sink from your feast, you won't have to wash stuff to get this dessert course out to your guests. They can just come by and pick up a, yeah, that's a nice centerpiece. You can see that little glistening, a little more of the gooiness of a pecan pie. And it makes plenty, so you can slice them bigger if you'd like. You can make them into rectangles, but they are sweet and crunchy, and that little bit of salt, if you do choose to use it, it is an option. And as I said, it's in the recipe, and the recipe's on the website. So there you have. My hands are a little sticky. Let me give them a rinse. Maple Pecan Pie Squares made with love. And before I close, I just really want to thank all the people that make Baking with Love possible. Everyone here at Peg TV, all of you viewers out there, you know who you are, my taste testers, official and unofficial, and my family. I wish you all I'm so grateful, and I wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving. So thanks for watching. Hope to see you next time on Baking with Love.